Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because Huntsville just turned into the set of a Tyler Perry movie mixed with a Maury DNA reveal and a dash of Shakespearean betrayal. The internet is on fire, the group chats are smoking, and let's just say, Alabama's humidity has nothing on the heat coming from this drama. You thought Melody Shari had been through enough with Martell Holt's community husband behavior. Oh no, apparently the man's greatest skill is not construction, it's reconstruction of bad decisions. Because now, allegedly, reportedly, supposedly, and according to my anonymous cousins, hairstylists, friend Stormi Steele, yes, the same I'm loyal sis Stormy, might have been the latest guest star in Martell's ongoing soap opera of chaos. But here's the kicker Melody found out. Not from gossip blogs, not from production leaks, not from Martell's smirk during another fake redemption arc. Nope, she found out herself. And let's just say if karma had a face, it was wearing red lipstick and stilettos that night. You can delete texts, you can deny rumors, but baby, you can't hide energy. So tonight we're diving into the betrayal that rocked Huntsville Melody's explosion. Stormi's silence, Martell's smirk, and the receipts that allegedly prove everything. Grab your popcorn, because this isn't love and marriage anymore, this is war and exposure. Huntsville edition. All right? So let's rewind everything and start from the beginning because this story didn't just fall out of the sky. It's been simmering for months like a soap opera that refuses to end. Melody Shari had already survived the kind of heartbreak that could destroy anyone else, yet she turned it into a brand of strength and self-worth. She went from being the betrayed wife on Love and Marriage Huntsville to the woman everyone admired for her glow-up, her ambition, and her grace under fire. People called her the Phoenix because every time someone tried to bury her, she came back brighter. But what no one saw coming was the betrayal that would shake her again. Not from a man this time, but from the woman she once called her sister, Stormi Steele. On-screen, Stormi was all about good energy, smiles, and sisterhood. She came across as loyal, supportive, and uplifting, the kind of friend who shows up when the world is against you. Off camera, though, whispers were brewing that Stormi's loyalty might not have been as pure as her skincare line. It started with a phone, an old one Melody had passed down to her son to play games on. One evening, she picked it up, scrolling absent-mindedly through the old messages and photos, not expecting to find anything important until she did. What she saw made her stop cold. A series of text messages linked to a number with a Mississippi area code messages that didn't belong to her but had been sent from Martell Holt's phone to a contact named simply S. The tone of the text wasn't businesslike or friendly. They were intimate, teasing, secretive. Melody read the words again and again, her heart pounding faster with every line. The sender wrote things like, I always had a soft spot for you, and I miss our late night talks, while Martell's replies were short but telling, meet me when she's not around and don't tell her we talk. Melody's stomach dropped because in her gut she knew what the S stood for, Stormi. The realization hit her like a slap because this wasn't just about infidelity anymore, it was about betrayal from inside. Her own circle, from someone who had held her hand while she cried on camera. At first, Melody refused to believe it. She told herself it had to be a misunderstanding, a wrong number, or maybe a prank. But the more she looked, the more patterns emerged. The timestamps lined up with weekends when Martell had claimed he was out of town for business, the same weekends when Stormi had posted vague captions about travel and self-care on her Instagram stories. It was too coincidental to ignore. Melody didn't confront anyone immediately. She decided to watch and wait. She started noticing subtle changes. Stormi's tone in conversations had become careful, guarded, and her usual warmth had cooled into politeness. Whenever Martell's name came up, she'd change the subject or laugh it off. To everyone else, it looked like normal tension between reality TV friends, but Melody was seeing the cracks form in real time. Behind closed doors, she started keeping notes. She saved screenshots, backed up voice notes, and even compared writing styles from Stormi's old texts to the messages she'd found. Everything matched down to the punctuation and slang. Still, Melody wanted undeniable proof, so she devised a plan that could have made a detective proud. Pretending to be someone else, she replied to one of the unknown messages posing as Martell. Within minutes, a response came through, and the conversation that followed confirmed her worst fear. The person on the other end talked casually about Melody like she was a nuisance, an obstacle between them. Melody couldn't take it anymore. She dialed the number, and when the voice answered, the sound was unmistakable. It was Stormi, smooth, confident, and familiar. Melody hung up instantly, her hands shaking, but she knew what she'd heard. The shock settled into anger, a quiet, burning fury that would soon ignite publicly from that moment. Melody started planning her next move. She wasn't going to lash out blindly, she was going to be strategic. She gathered every piece of evidence carefully, every timestamp, every message, every audio clip. When she was ready, she let the truth slip in the most dramatic way possible, because when you've been betrayed on camera, it's only fair that the world watches your revenge on camera too. Word spread like wildfire through the love and marriage Huntsville community. Fans were split between disbelief and outrage. Some defended Stormi, insisting Melody was overreacting. Others were sure that this was the ultimate proof that fake friends are worse than cheating husbands. The blogs picked it up, and headlines screamed that Stormi Steele might have been involved with Martell Holt. Stormi's team denied it immediately, saying the messages were fabricated, but the damage was already done. Her once glowing image as Melody's loyal sister was crumbling. In real time, and for the first time, the audience didn't know who to believe, because the woman who once symbolized empowerment was now standing face to face with betrayal. That felt too real to be scripted. The internet exploded like a volcano that had been waiting for the right moment to erupt. As soon as the rumors surfaced that Stormi might have crossed a line with Martell Holt, blogs were posting every second. Podcasts were debating every detail. And fans were turning into digital detectives, zooming in on screenshots, matching nail colors from old photos, comparing voice tones from interviews, and even analyzing the background of leaked voice notes to see if they matched the decor of Stormi's house. It was chaos disguised as curiosity. Melody didn't have to say much, because her silence became its own kind of confirmation. Every time she posted something vague like, "Healing is the best revenge," or "When loyalty costs you peace," the internet treated it like scripture. Meanwhile, Stormi was doing damage control, posting cheerful videos, pretending nothing was wrong, showing off her products, and smiling like the world wasn't falling apart. But behind that ring light smile, insiders claimed she was panicking. One alleged friend told a gossip outlet that Stormi hadn't been sleeping, that she was terrified of losing her brand deals, and that her phone had been blowing up with calls from sponsors wanting to know if the rumors were true. The tension between the two women was no longer just emotional. It was financial and professional. And it was about to become public in a way neither of them could control. Martell didn't help matters. He was spotted at a nightclub in Atlanta, smiling with his signature confidence, surrounded by people who knew exactly what they were doing when they filmed him. When someone asked if the rumors about him and Stormi were true, he laughed and said, "Ask her, not me." And that clip went viral within hours. It was like gasoline on an already burning fire. Melody watched from the sidelines, every nerve in her body screaming. But she stayed composed, because she knew a storm was forming, and she wanted it to hit at the perfect time. Producers of Love and Marriage Huntsville saw the drama unfold in real time, and they were thrilled, because this was television gold. The tension was real, the emotions raw, and the betrayal layered enough to turn a simple scandal into a full season arc. The reunion was being planned, and everyone knew that this confrontation was going to be the centerpiece. Behind the scenes, Melody's team was advising her to keep quiet, to let the evidence speak for itself, while Stormi's team was trying to negotiate what could and could not be discussed on camera. But nothing could stop what was coming, because when a friendship breaks in front of millions of people, there is no putting the pieces back quietly. There is no putting the pieces back quietly. The public reaction was merciless. Hashtags boycotting her business resurfaced. Live videos speculating about her marriage appeared. and fans who once adored her turned skeptical overnight. Influencers who had previously collaborated with her started quietly deleting old posts, while brands distanced themselves with polite statements about reevaluating partnerships. The show's producers, realizing they were sitting on the season of the decade, began teasing clips showing Melody and Stormi's confrontation. The short previews were enough to send social media into hysteria. Melody's calm but icy demeanor in the teasers contrasted perfectly with Stormi's nervous, defensive energy. Everyone could sense that something monumental was about to go down. As filming day approached, tension built like a ticking clock. Melody spent the days leading up to the reunion rehearsing what she wanted to say, replaying the call in her head, and reminding herself that this moment wasn't just about revenge, but about closure. Stormi, on the other hand, was seen entering the studio looking fragile and restless. Crew members whispered that she'd been crying in her dressing room moments before cameras rolled. When they finally sat across from each other under the blinding studio lights, the silence was thick enough to cut. The host started the conversation gently, but everyone could feel that politeness was about to shatter. Melody spoke slowly, every word measured, describing how trust feels when it breaks, how betrayal sounds when it wears a familiar voice. And by the time she paused, the audience was silent. When the reunion reached its breaking point, the air inside that studio felt charged like the seconds before a lightning strike, and everyone knew they were witnessing something that would be replayed for years. Melody looked at Stormi with the kind of calm that only comes from someone who has already cried every tear possible and is now running on pure truth. She pulled out her phone, handed it to production, and within seconds, the big screen behind them lit up, showing the messages, the timestamps, and the audio clips. The audience gasped as the familiar tone of Stormi's voice filled the room, saying things that couldn't be mistaken or denied. Stormi's face turned pale, her body stiffened, and for a long second she didn't say a word. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked as she insisted the messages were fabricated, that someone was trying to destroy her reputation, but Melody didn't flinch. She just stared and said quietly, "I don't need to destroy you. You did that yourself." That single line hit harder than any shouting match could. The host tried to move the conversation forward, but the damage was already irreversible. Stormi started crying, wiping her face angrily as the cameras zoomed in, while Melody sat motionless, looking exhausted more than angry. It wasn't about vengeance anymore, it was about truth finally being louder than denial. The clip became the emotional center of the entire episode, and before the reunion even finished airing, it was already trending online. Meanwhile, Melody's star only rose higher. Bookings increased. Podcasts, requested interviews, and her name became synonymous with resilience and rebirth. She was no longer just the woman who survived betrayal. She was the woman who conquered it publicly and unapologetically. Yet behind that success, insiders said she had grown distant and mistrustful. One close associate revealed that Melody had stopped letting new people into her life, and that she often said she was tired of having to prove she was the good one. The fame that came with vindication was heavy. And though she smiled for the cameras, her eyes carried the exhaustion of someone who had seen too much. Stormi, on the other hand, vanished from social media for months. Her accounts went silent and her business page stopped updating. It was as if she had disappeared from the public eye completely, until one quiet afternoon she posted a single sentence on her story: "Sometimes loyalty kills faster than hate." The message was haunting, and it reignited the discussion all over again. People debated whether it was an admission, a reflection, or a warning, but one thing was certain: the friendship that had once represented sisterhood and solidarity was now a cautionary tale about trust in a world that thrives on betrayal. The show's producers capitalized on the chaos, releasing teasers for the next season, hinting that both women might return, but on opposite sides of the battlefield. Fans speculated whether they would ever reconcile, but deep down everyone knew some wounds never close. Melody had built her empire from ashes more than once, and she had learned how to turn pain into profit, but at a cost that no brand deal could repay. Stormi had tasted what public adoration felt like, and what public condemnation could do when it comes just as fast. Both women became legends, not for their success, but for the storm they survived and the scars they carried after. In the end, their story became more than gossip. It became a mirror reflecting how quickly loyalty can crumble when pride and power collide. Somewhere in the silence that followed the storm, Huntsville felt different, as if the glittering world of reality, fame had cracked a little, showing everyone that behind the cameras and confessionals, the real battles are the ones fought between friends turned enemies, between truth and denial, and between the versions of ourselves we show the world and the ones we hide when the lights go out. So after everything we've seen, the lies, the tears, the receipts, and the silence, one question still burns in every viewer's mind. What happens next? Because stories like these don't end when the cameras stop rolling. They linger in every post, every rumor, every side-eye at the next reunion. Was this betrayal the final chapter, or just another pause in a saga that thrives on shock and survival? Melody walked away with her truth. But can peace really exist when the whole world watched your pain like entertainment? And Stormi may have lost her shine, but does redemption ever come for the ones who fall hardest? The truth is, we don't know. And maybe that's what keeps us coming back. The chase for answers, the thrill of discovery, and the satisfaction of saying we knew it before it hit the blogs. But now it's your turn. What do you think really happened between Stormi and Martell? Do you believe Melody's silence spoke louder than any receipts? Or was this all one big setup for the show? Drop your thoughts below, because you know the comment section is where the real show begins. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next shocking truth.